What's up guys, I'm Nico of CamCrunch, and today's video is going to be a review on the Canon 17-40 f4 L series lens. Now this lens review is a little bit overdue considering the fact that this lens is probably my most used lens ever. Now this copy right here is my dad's because I actually don't own my copy anymore. I just use his whenever I need to, but throughout the time that I owned one, it was on my camera probably 99% of the time. I had a couple of other lenses, including the 24-105, but the 17-40 was glued onto my camera. And that's mainly because of the style of photography that I shoot. I used it for everything from landscapes, other sceneries type stuff. I did street photography. I even did like environmental portraits and that sort of stuff, all with this lens. So what I'm going to do in this review is sort of just show you the build quality of this lens, how it looks on the camera, that sort of stuff. And then we're going to jump into the pictures that I've taken with this lens. And then I'm going to conclude with, sort of giving you some advice on who this lens is for. Because I don't believe that this lens is something that everyone necessarily needs to own, because not everyone shoots with, ultra wide angle lenses. It doesn't fit everyone's style. It doesn't fit everyone's needs. So I'm going to break that down towards the end of this review. So let's first start off with the build quality of this lens. So here is the lens. It is a very compact lens. As you can see, it's sort of like as big as my hand, which is relatively compact again for a L series, so well built ultra wide angle zoom lens. This is 17-40, so it's got a nice zoom range. And what's nice about this lens is you don't get any movement from the lens when you zoom in and zoom out. It's actually inside. You can see it if you remove your filter, but when you have a filter on, everything happens inside. And that brings me to another point, which is the weather sealing of this lens. This lens is fully weather sealed down here. You get a rubber gasket, so that prevents dust and moisture from coming into the camera. But like I said, the lens moves in and out if you don't have a filter. So to fully weather seal the lens, you do need a lens filter. It's got a 77 front filter thread. Right now I have a circular polarizer on it, which, some people don't use circular polarizers for wide angle lenses because the polarity changes. It looks different because of such a wide angle perspective. So some people don't do that, but I do like using polarizers for my wide angle lenses. Well, not all the time, but sometimes I do. So right now I do have a circular polarizer there. The focus ring, very smooth. It doesn't have solid hard stops. You can keep moving it, but it does sort of give you a soft stop indication as to where the zoom range, the focus range ends. And yeah, put this lens on and makes the, it's nicely balanced, not too heavy, but it's still pretty big, which is, one of the main reasons why I use the 24mm these days. It's a lot smaller. But it's not too big. Again, for a wide angle, ultra wide angle zoom lens, it's not really that big. It's one of the smaller options that you can get actually. So that's how it looks. And let's go on to the image quality. So now let's take a look at some of the images that I've produced with this lens. And what I'm going to do now is just show you guys just a few shots of what I've taken. And you're going to see a big variety between the shots that I take, because I do some landscape, scenery, that sort of stuff, some street photography, and also some people as well, because I do like shooting with that wider angle perspective. It gives you a certain look when you move into a subject. It gives you sort of that little bit of distortion, and when you move out, you can capture the environment, so you get like a full context of where that person is in the environment. And I think that's a pretty cool look, and it fits the style that I like to shoot. And yeah, so I do think this is a very versatile lens if you like to shoot with a wide angle, perspective. Now, in terms of sharpness, this is a very sharp lens. It's not the sharpest out there currently. This has just kind of been replaced with the new 16-35 f4 with image stabilization. That's something that I consider a good lens, something that I'd probably consider for myself if I was buying new today. I do think that the extra 5mm that you go with the 40 is nice, because 40 is sort of a neutral point of view. So that's something to consider. But overall, it's a very, very sharp lens. You do get that L quality, and you won't be disappointed. This is, I think, sharper than the more expensive 16-35 f2.8. So that's something to consider as well. So overall, the Canon 17-40 is a very, very good lens. But again, like I said earlier in this video, it's not for everyone. So there are a couple of people that I would recommend this to, so I'll start off with that, and that is for people that want to try an ultra wide angle zoom lens on a full frame camera, because on a full frame camera you can get a prime, but they are much more expensive. You can get a nice range of 17 to 40 with just this lens. So if you have a 24 to something sort of mid-range zoom, then this will cover the 17 to 24, which is a very, very wide angle that is very, very different from the 24mm perspective. So that's something to consider. If you're shooting full frame where you want a nice, affordable, compact ultra wide angle prime, then you might want to pick this up. If you're shooting video, I wouldn't get this necessarily. I'd get the newer 16 to 35 with image stabilization. That's a very, very nice lens and one that you might want to consider. If you're shooting a cropped frame camera, this used to be a very nice option because it did have sort of an image quality advantage over the kit lens, but now in today's world, there are many different options that you can get that are far better than this. One of them is the Sigma 18 to 35 f1.8. That's a very good lens. You can get, there's just a whole bunch of other lenses that I'd get over this if you're shooting a crop centered camera. I'd even get the cheaper 10 to 18 or 11 to 18 Canon lens. That one's a very good lens as well if you want that wide angle perspective. But if you want the same range of 17 to 40, then you might as well just get the 18 to 35 by Sigma. So yeah, it's not for everyone, but if you want a full frame wide angle, ultra wide angle zoom lens for your Canon system, this one is relatively compact, relatively affordable. I think it's still the cheapest option that you can get right now. It's L quality, so it's very, very nicely built, and it won't let you down. So yeah, that's my review of this lens. Like the video, favorite the video, share the video, subscribe if you haven't yet, and I'll see you guys in the next one.